Speaking of planning, and
Yes.
planning, what we saw yesterday was evidence of that through, your organization and NPPD, because the plans for the wind farm are not simple, and you have a lot of steps you're going to take. Would you mind, can we talk about the meeting yesterday, and then you met with some folks last night, kind of update us on that, and Mark and Al will include you in that conversation if you'd like to join us.
Why don't we just start with, Mark or Al talking about, the reason for the meeting, and,
Okay.
and just kind of gives us a synopsis of it.
Okay, well, basically, with the addition of a wind farm coming into the area, we need to hook that up to a transmission line so we can hook everything up to the grid. And it's a very key process that we go through to include landowners to help us with this. Our goal here is to minimize the impact that the transmission line would have to the local ag operations and anybody's property. And so we started off having a public meeting like we did yesterday. We try to keep all the landowners informed of what's going on. And the other thing we try to do is get input from the landowners so we can learn all the various aspects about their property, about their operations, so that when we go through a design process for the transmission line, we can, again, place the poles and the line in an area that will minimize the impact. And so we've got letters out to the landowners. We're going to have an open house next week, and we want everybody to come in. We'll have computers set up with aerial photography so they can view their property, and we can gather information, and we'll have, I don't know, Mark, 8 or 9 or 10 stations set up. We'll have an engineering section so they can talk about the structure types. We'll have a routing section. We'll have the right-of-way area. They can talk about the easement acquisition, and just all kinds of various aspects about the project for the public to learn.
All right, thanks, Al. And Mark, this is all part of a very transparent, step-by-step plan that you guys implement as you go along, because you've had experience with these sorts of things many times. But wind is new, but transmission lines are not necessarily new. Is that
right? And one thing is, like I said, we want to be open about it, and so people understand what we're going to do, what we need to do. Like Al said, gathering up that information is really very critical to us. And I think our meeting yesterday was really to get kicked off with the local, what we call the local community leaders, to give them an idea of what we're doing, because people may sit there and say, Dave, I heard about this. What do you know? Mm-hmm. And, well, you were fortunate enough to be there, or they go to Rick and they'll ask the same thing, and he'll give them a high-level picture of what we're doing. But at least people were informed. It was one thing I say yesterday was great, tremendous turnout. I was sort of really surprised we had that many people there, because some of our other meetings we don't necessarily get that many, but it showed a lot of interest by the Broken Bow community in this.
well, it was good to see everybody there, and all of the speakers commented on that, so it was evident that you don't usually or often get crowds that size first time around. And then you met with some folks last night on a personal basis, more of an intimate basis, to kind of talk things over more specifically. How'd that go?
It was a very good meeting last night. It was NPPD hosted the meeting. We brought in all the landowners that are going to be, that we've had signed up for the wind options, and we brought them in with Midwest Wind Energy, which will build the facility. And it was sort of a beginning of a transition process from NPPD to Midwest Wind. One of the things Midwest Wind really needs to do right now is they need to get in and start doing some, I guess you would call it micro-siting of the turbines. They're also looking at, they've got to do a number of environmental assessments in the area. It was to get with the people, let them know that even though we have an agreement with NPPD and them, that it was okay for Midwest Wind to come out there and do that, as long as the owners agreed to that. And basically Midwest was telling them what we're going to do, how we're going to go about doing it. This is a time that they really need to get out and start getting that microsite so they can start getting back with the various individuals that would be possibly have a turbine on their property to get easements and so forth in the future.
Yeah, it sounds really like all of you are trying to avoid surprises for the people involved. I mean, that's...
Yeah, and that's one thing we try to do, and Rick has reminded me of no surprises, and we've tried to accommodate him as best as we can.
Often.
And he reminds me of when I don't tell him. But no, that's one thing. We want to be out front and let people know what's going on.